Okay, so are you ready for this? Today we're diving into something uh, a little different, a firsthand account that's well, it's bizarre to say the least.
Definitely piqued my interest when I first read it.
Yeah, it's like imagine your old college, right? But worked.
Yeah,
Sinister. Like the source material talks about this reality where like windows are all covered up and doors just vanish.
right. And it's not just like a physical change. It's like the building itself. It's like it's alive.
Exactly. It's this twisted version of Endeavor University, and we're going to try to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, you get this feeling right away. Like reading the source, it's not just that things are different, but it's the feeling of being trapped.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Like a space that should be comfortable, you know?
Familiar. Okay.
Exactly. But it's become alienating, like deeply so.
It's truly creepy.
Yeah.
And you're thrown into this disorienting situation right alongside the narrator.
Oh, yeah, immediately. And then you've got these other people trapped with them.
Yeah.
Each one like representing a different way of coping with this insane situation.
Yeah.
It's so strange how they react. It's like Camera Dude, this friend who's been stuck there for decades.
Decades.
Yeah.
And he's just filming everything constantly.
Obsessively. It's creepy. Makes you wonder what his motivation is. Is he trying to understand, to control it somehow, or is it something else entirely?
Yeah. Well, good question. I mean, is that how he copes? By documenting it all?
Then you've got Jack Williamson, and he's all this restless energy, like he's constantly pacing.
Yeah, push it against the walls, like literally.
It's like he can't accept it, so he just keeps moving.
It's such a contrast to Camera Dude, right? One's documenting meticulously, the other's rejecting it through movement.
Totally. And then there's CJ. He's described as very observant.
Oh, yeah, like he's piecing together clues.
Like trying to understand the rules of this messed up reality.
Right, but is that going to help him? Or is it just going to make things worse?
Yeah, it's a good question. Does knowledge equal power in this situation?
Or is it just another form of torment?
Because they're stuck in this ever-shifting environment for like a month.
A month.
The source talks about rooms rearranging themselves, like the building is breathing.
Almost like it's predatory.
Yeah, and that's what makes this so terrifying. It's not just being trapped, it's that the rules are constantly changing.
You can't feel safe.
Yeah.
You can't make plans. There's zero control.
And then on top of that, there's the force lurking in the background.
Yeah, it's never fully described.
So you get this feeling it's malevolent, aware, and like it's feeding off their fear.
It's the unknown, right? Our imaginations just go wild.
It becomes this projection of our deepest fears.
The thing you can't define, but, instinctively, it's dangerous.
And that's where things take a really disturbing turn. CJ goes on a supply run, and when he comes back,
He's different.
changed. His voice is different. He's moving slow and deliberate, like a robot.
Oh, yeah. This is where it gets really creepy. Like the idea of possession. What does it mean to have your mind taken over?
Is CJ even still in there?
Yeah. Is there anything left of him?
It's terrifying, and the source does such a good job of showing these subtle changes in CJ.
It's like this creeping dread.
It's not a sudden transformation. It's slow, insidious, and maybe even more scary because of that.
It's that fear of losing control, right?
Yeah.
Becoming a puppet.
And the way CJ is described, the way he moves, his voice, it's like whatever's taken over him. It's methodical, calculating,
Yeah.
and completely alien. And then comes the moment that just shatters any sense of security they had left. CJ attacks Jack.
Oh, God.
And it leads to this gruesome death by electrocution.
It's brutal.
And the detail of Jack turning to dust.
It's just horrifying.
It's a turning point because it shows us what the Force is really capable of.
Right up until now, it's
Yeah.
this lurking presence, this unease.
But now we see its power, its ruthlessness.
It can completely obliterate a person, leaving no trace.
And that leaves the narrator and camera dude facing this horrifying truth. They're next.
Their world has just shrunk.
Ah.
That little bit of safety they had.
Gone.
Shattered, they've lost a friend, and they're completely alone. Vulnerable.
It's a terrifying situation to be in.
Absolutely terrifying.
So they're facing this impossible choice, right? Stay and risk ending up like Jack, or try to escape this warped university.
And escape is exactly what they try.
Right. I mean, what would you do?
This source describes them running through the corridors of Endeavor.
Driven by pure terror?
Oh, yeah. They've got Jack's death fresh in their minds.
It's like that primal instinct, right? Fight or flight.
But where do you run when the building itself is the enemy?
Exactly. There's no safe haven. It's constantly changing.
They're just delaying the inevitable.
And they come to this realization, running isn't going to solve anything.
They have to fight back.
Which is a huge shift, right? From just surviving to actually fighting.
They've been pushed to their limit. They've lost a friend.
Yeah.
And there's this moment where something snaps,
They decide to confront the force head on.
even though it seems impossible.
And they come up with this plan to lure it into a trap,
They choose the backstage area of the auditorium.
a place they know well. Lots of shadows, hiding places.
It's interesting they choose that spot right.
Yeah, well, they're there.
It's like a liminal space backstage where reality and illusion meet.
It's fitting in a way. I mean, they're dealing with this entity that's warping reality.
Right, so they confront it in this place where the lines are already blurred.
But what follows isn't some epic showdown. It's brutal,
Yeah.
desperate, messy.
The source doesn't hold back on the violence. It's visceral.
They're not fighting with weapons or strategy.
It's pure instinct.
Driven by this need to break free.
To survive.
And it takes both of them working together, pushing through the fear and exhaustion.
They finally bring the force down.
It's amazing. It shows the power of their bond, their refusal to give up on each other.
This isn't about individual heroism. It's about human connection in the face of darkness.
And as soon as the force is gone, the doors reappear.
Just like that.
The way out is open.
Almost anticlimactic after everything they went through.
Right. It makes you wonder what was holding them there.
Was it the force itself? Or was defeating it just a trigger?
It's never really explained, which
Yeah.
just adds to the mystery.
Like we've only glimpsed the surface of something much bigger.
Camera Dude escapes, and eventually he shares his story through his documentary.
He even goes on to teach, using his experience to help others.
But the narrator goes back to their ordinary life like nothing happened.
It's fascinating how they react so differently.
Right. Camera Dude is driven to process his trauma through his art. The narrator just wants to forget.
It shows there's no right way to deal with something like this.
But here's the twist. CJ is still trapped in the university,
Alive, but possessed.
locked away in a supply closet.
And Endeavor University just keeps going, oblivious to the darkness hidden inside.
It's such a powerful image. It leaves you feeling uneasy.
Like the threat is still there.
And what about CJ? Is he a prisoner of the Force, or has he become a part of it?
It's a haunting thought.
And it brings us back to that idea of institutions and corruption.
The university, a place of learning, now a prison.
It's a reminder that even the most trusted places can have secrets.
And that normalcy can be very fragile.
It really makes you think about reality. You know, what is Endeavor University? Another dimension.
We're like a pocket of trapped time.
Is it all in their heads?
Yeah, a shared delusion?
Yeah.
Or like a descent into madness?
It could be all of those things, I think.
That's what's so cool about it. The university is like a character.
Yeah, it's like it's alive.
A living, breathing entity with its own agenda.
It takes something familiar, like a school, and makes it sinister, unknowable.
And that ties back into the idea of institutions, you know, and how they can be corrupted.
We trust these institutions, schools, governments. But what happens when that trust is broken?
What happens when they turn against us?
Yeah.
This story really explores that anxiety.
In a terrifying way. And it reminds us that power can be misused.
No matter how good the intentions are.
Blind faith in any system can be dangerous.
Especially without critical thinking, without questioning.
It's like a cycle, right?
Yeah.
New students keep coming to Endeavor.
Totally oblivious to what's really going on.
It's a cycle of ignorance and suffering.
It's like a warning almost.
Oh,
A reminder to pay attention.
To look beyond the surface, to question what we're told.
Yeah. Be vigilant. Recognize those subtle signs of corruption.
And never take our freedom for granted.
Exactly. Because it can be so easily taken away.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what do you think is the most important thing for our listeners to take away from this?
I think it highlights the importance of critical thinking.
For sure.
Questioning assumptions.
Yeah.
You know, being aware of the forces that shape our reality.
The visible and the invisible.
And don't forget the power of human connection.
Right. Finding allies.
Like the narrator and camera dude. They needed each other to survive.
In a world that feels increasingly chaotic, those connections are everything.
Absolutely. They're essential.
And maybe most importantly, this story encourages us to face our fears,
To confront the darkness.
both inside ourselves and in the world.
Because you can't find the light without acknowledging the shadows.
This deep dive has given us all a lot to think about, for sure.
Lots to ponder.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and never stop searching for the truth.
No matter how unsettling it might be.
Thanks for listening.